Good morning. Hope you've all had a nice weekend. If you're still enjoying... Hey, look, check out sunrise. Anyway, you get the idea. So anyway, gratitude. Example of one of the things I'm grateful for. And it's another one of those little stories. So who am I grateful for? I'm grateful to this morning. I'll tell you who. One lady who changed my life. So what I want to say is thank you to Miss Huxford, who was my form teacher at Huxford Comprehensive School in Ilford. So, well, you know that one. So anyway, why am I grateful to Miss Huxford? Long story short, I did one of those, remember those careers classes we used to have? So it got to one afternoon, I think it was Kibble Reese or whoever it was in this careers class. And if anyone remembers me at school, I was a nice guy, got chased around and beat up a lot, but I was a straight D student. I was in D for everything. D for maths, D for English. The only thing I wasn't any good at, thanks to Mr. Smith, was woodwork and metalwork, because I've always been good with my hands. That's another story. So anyway, I'm in careers class, and I think Sir was going around and saying, oh, what do you want to do, and how are you planning your career? And everyone's, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. I think James was saying, I want to be a journalist or whatever, and it got round to me. And my dream, ever since I was a little kid, oh, check that out. I don't know if you can see that beautiful sunrise. My dream was always, I loved technology, was always to work for IBM. So when he got round to me, little Cal puts his hands up and says, Sir, I want to work for IBM. I'm going to work for IBM when I grow up. I'm going to be a systems analyst. That role used to exist. It's long gone. So anyway, he looks at me and says, but Calvin, look, you know, the school won't even let you do maths. You're only doing arithmetic. And, mate, you're not in a great set for English either. And if you're going to go into, you know, computer science and electronics, you need maths. Sound maths, and you need a great command of English. So, young Calvin, if I was you, mate, I'd apply to Fords of Dagenham, who used to be just up the road, and they always need people to fit car radios, Calvin. And I remember that landed on my heart like a brick. And my dreams, because look, you're a D student, you're getting bad news about yourself all the time. I was crushed. So I'm thinking, this teacher who I had so much respect for, told me that I had no, you know, that my future, the future I dreamed of, my ambitions were a waste of time. So, and it just broke my heart. So anyway, we ended up going back to my form room, and everyone's going inside. I'm getting slapped around the head as we all used to back then, and I was just standing there stunned. I had a bit of a sulk on, and I was just so down. My heart was just in the shoes. And then I remember Miss Huxford, she shutting everyone into class registration, and she looks at me and she says, Calvin Smith, Calvin Smith, what are you moping about? And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, Mr. Kibble Reese told me I'll never work for IBM, and you know, he told me that the only thing I'm good for is, you know, for fitting car radios. And she looked at me and she said, young man, wipe your eyes. And she just like, looked straight through me, wipe your eyes. And I'm like, yes, miss. And she says, how much do you want to work for IBM? And I said, miss, I want to work for IBM with all my heart. And she said, what? And I said, I want to work for IBM with all my heart. And she said, well, in that case, you will work for IBM. That's all there is to it. Stop moping, get into class. And I believed her. She told me with such conviction that I believed her more than I believed myself. And I ended up going to the job centre when I left school. And back then, when you went to the job centre, there weren't no computers. It was card indexing box. So I'm flicking through this card indexing box, and up comes this card. IBM are looking for Youth Training Scheme, YTS, Industrial Traineeships. were industrial trainees. That's like a long time ago, isn't it? So anyway, I pick up this card. Lo and behold, the applications for trainees had finished 2 weeks before I found the card. So I thought, oh well, maybe they want some graduates or some intake for next year. So I picked up the card, job centre, and I called a number. And a gentleman by the name of, I think it's Mr. Jack Milligan, who was a youth coordinator for IBM South Bank at the time, answers the phone. And I say, excuse me, sir, sorry to bother you, but, you know, my name's Calvin. I'm no good at school, but it's my dream to work for IBM, it really is. And maybe, you know, if you could think of considering me, maybe next year you could consider me. I'll do anything to be, you know, to join IBM as a customer engineer. And he said, well, funny enough, Calvin, one of the intake for this year has just dropped out. And if you can be in my office tomorrow morning, you can have his place. And that's how my career got started in technology. I did that first year as a trainee at IBM. I worked at Barclays, I worked at Lloyds Bank, I worked at the Department of Employment, and at the end of that year I was actually awarded IBM Industrial Trainee of the Year award, and they gave me this wonderful pewter tankard that over 30 years later my dad still has it on the mantelpiece back home. My family are so proud. My family were actually given an honorary visit around the inside of Lloyds Bank. And that was the days when you had a computer. We actually used to ride around the computer on a golf cart, it was that big. So anyway, as I say, look, you make your own luck in life. Because, you know, if I hadn't have pursued that, it wouldn't have happened. And that's in spite of all the bullshit people told me about myself. So be careful what you tell your kids, man. Jesus, you can really fuck them up if you give them the... So I'm not saying build up their ambitions and their hopes in an unrealistic way. Give them clear, specific methods for getting what they want. Don't fill their head with pipe dreams. So anyway, that's me. From me to you. Look at that. Wow, as the sun comes up. I'm going to go hit the sand, do a couple of laps, go for a swim, have a smashing week. So from me to you, big love, peace out, laters.